Hi, welcome back. So we did an activity on Thursday where we behaved as a water molecule in the water cycle, and we traveled through the water cycle and made it to various locations. You should have your journey listed in this chart and also mapped out here with lines telling which direction you chose to move based on how you rolled the dice. We had some noticings about paths. Some of you spent a long time in glaciers and oceans, and we talked about why that is and how we depend upon the sun and gravity to power this water cycle and move that water. So if you're not receiving one or the other, you will not have any force acting in you to move or change phase. So there would be no motion in the water cycle. We had some similarities and differences, but no two water molecules had the same path, which is similar to water molecules in the actual water cycle. No two have shared the same path throughout the history of the water cycle. So I want to go through these questions with you today. How is water able to get from the clouds to the river? So you should have these recorded already. I've given you a little time at the beginning of class, and then I want you to add anything you might not have put in your answer for this, because these are testable questions. So how is water able to get from the clouds to the river? What force pulls water from the clouds back to the ground? Okay, so when water in the clouds gets heavy enough, gravity causes it to fall as precipitation in the form of rain or snow or sleet or hail, and that can land in a river, okay, potentially. A lot of places it could land, but a river is a potential place. How is water able to get into the clouds, and where can the water come from? We know that when water on the surface of the planet is heated by the energy from the sun, it can evaporate and rise up into the atmosphere. There it can cool off and condense to form clouds, and the water can start in a river, a lake, an ocean, a plant, or a glacier. There are many locations that water can evaporate. So we know that quite literally the water cycle is the motion of water in different forms, liquid, solid, or gas, in motion from land to atmosphere to land to atmosphere. And there are several different ways that it can do that. Number 3, why is sunlight essential to the water cycle process? There are two forces that power the water cycle, the sun and gravity. Sunlight is essential because sunlight heats the water molecules in bodies of water on the ground. And when the water molecules gain energy from the sunlight, evaporation occurs and water vapor enters the atmosphere. If there was no evaporation, the water couldn't properly cycle on the planet. Number 4, explain 2 ways that water can be released from animal bodies to be reused in the water cycle process. So there are a couple different ways animals play a role in the water cycle. The first reason water can be released from animal bodies when they urinate. That's the obvious answer. And then that water enters back into the ground and is absorbed by plant roots. And it enters the water cycle again, or it can run off into a local lake, pond, or body of water. Also, when animals exhale, humans too, they exhale water vapor, a gaseous form of water, into the atmosphere, and it can escape and enter the water cycle again. Also, when animals decompose, the water and all the animal tissue is released. So when an animal dies, it decomposes, releases its water and its tissues, and it enters the water cycle again. Also, sweat, as animal sweat, human sweat is perspiration, and that is water being introduced back into the water cycle as well, released from the body and entering the water cycle. Number 5, why does it matter if water sources are overused? Well, this is really a big issue because if we overuse water sources, there may not be enough for consumption for everyday living. Only 0.3% of fresh water is available for human use. Most of the fresh water is frozen in glaciers, or underground, not available for human use. So it's very important we conserve the water that we have available because we need it to survive. Everything needs it to survive. 6, what are some ways we can conserve that water? We can turn off the faucet while we're brushing our teeth. We can fix leaky faucets so that they don't overuse fresh water. We can take shorter showers. There are a lot of things we can do to conserve water. Number 7, what happens if we do not have enough fresh water available in our community? I want you to think about a drought. This is kind of a situation where there isn't enough fresh water available. Sometimes there's restrictions posed on a community, like only being permitted to water your lawn or wash your car a certain number of times during a drought. So we don't really experience this in our area that we live very often, but there are climates that definitely experience drought, and they do have restrictions on what you can do so that you have fresh water to consume, because that's the most important use of human fresh water is consumption. We need water to survive.